So welcome everyone to today's online discussion, social media. Every 2 weeks, we are hosting the Business Success Skill webinar. And very important for me is to just start is if you want to watch one that you didn't see, if you missed one, or if you have to jump off earlier today, you can go on YouTube and look us up there. If you search for Business Success Skill webinar marker, or if you go on Instagram, on my Instagram account, it's Benny_Frowein. There you also see the link in the profile, in the bio. There's a lot of webinars on, how to charge clients, how to find your next client, how to cut cost, how to, get better in leadership. So a lot of different topics that I would really invite you to check out. Coming back to today, I have with me 3 really wonderful panelists, and I would love to introduce them to you. Annie, would you share your screen so that we see their work? Let's see whether this works. Perfect. Okay. I don't see anything yet, but it's just a question, I think, of seconds. Okay, perfect. So yeah, I would love to start with Kara Fox. Kara combined forces with her husband, Tom, to create the Fox Group, a custom home building company based in Salt Lake City, specializing in classic design, millwork, and wainscoting. While Tom heads the construction as an architect and Kara focuses on the interior design and styling, they joined their unique expertise to create a firm that creates beautiful homes with their incredible team of the finest artisans and craftsmen. Kara, it's a pleasure to have you today. Thank you so much for joining and being, on the panel with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. Thank you.
Then we thought we'd take the gentleman in the middle. So Kevin Isbell, originally from Ohio. Kevin earned a degree in business management and art history from Ohio State University before moving to San Francisco, where he received a degree in interior architecture and design from the Academy of Art. After working for the likes of Celeste Cooper and Jeffrey Biltmer, Kevin settled down in Los Angeles and started his own boutique firm in 2009, where he has gained recognition over the past decade for his signature style, clean, layered, and highly nuanced. Kevin, also thank you so much to you for joining today. Pleasure having you.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks a lot.
And then last but not least, Marie Flanagan. Marie, you're the second time on today, so thank you very much. 3 is a charm, so we're going to ask you again. Marie, you are a classically trained and practiced architect with a degree in marketing. Marie had to step up when she started her Houston-based firm, Marie Flanagan Interiors, in 2010. She has constantly been featured in top shelter magazines, and most notably with her most recent front page spread, In-House Beautiful, and has made appearances also on HGTV. Marie, again, it's a pleasure having you here the second time. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, and then last but not least, really quickly about my person, I'm Benny Frowein. I'm Schumacher's president, and I'm hosting, this on the side because we really felt we wanted to bring the community together and speak about business in a time where I think it's really helpful to speak about business. Really quick before we jump into the questions, a couple of organizational things. So I have prepared a couple of questions. I think that's going to take us 30-40 minutes where we go through the panelists and I ask them all the questions that I would ask. And then we also have a Q&A session. So if you guys that are listening have questions, just hover with your mouse at the bottom. You see the chat function, the Q&A function. Try to use the Q&A function and type in your questions. If you can make it short, that would be great because I have to read, speak, and listen all at once. So the easier it is for me, the better I can ask them and repeat the question. So I suggest we start. And Kara, maybe we just start with you right away. I would love to hear from you when you started social media. So at what point did you start social media, and what do you focus on when you post?
So We started about 6 years ago, really focusing in on social media and really trying to get our work out there. I think probably the most important thing that I've actually learned about social media is that social media loves a beautiful picture. They love good photography. Obviously it has to, the work itself has to be good, but it's how you portray your picture is also very important. And the lighting and the entire, I would say the feel of your account goes a long way in the, when someone comes to see if they are interested in you, you have about 3 seconds to visually give an entire idea of what you represent. So I think beautiful pictures go a long way. So you capture your work in the most beautiful way that you can.
And what are you focusing on, like when you post in terms of content? Do you have a specific focus there?
Yes, so I would say the focus, the work itself, but I tend to go into detail about what the picture is showing. I like to give details. I like to bring the attention to specifics about that room. And a lot of times I'll do that in a swipe. I think you can focus on one space at a time. You don't want to overwhelm the viewer, but you really want to give detail in each post as well as the overall vision of the room.
Thank you. Kevin, when did you start with social media, and what is that you really focus on when you post?
Well, I started, Instagram is what I'm talking about. I started actually in 2010 when it was Instagram, right? So you were just photographing things that you liked, and before it became basically your portfolio. I really started changing gears, I would say maybe 5 years ago, and making it more completely work centric. So I just focus still on things that I love. So it's not necessarily always just my work. I post things that are of interest to me as a designer, because people are coming to me as a designer for my eye, and my eye likes other things besides just interiors. So I do focus on just sort of, it's building more about getting my viewer, my fan, my follower to know more about me in a more personal way. And I incorporate that through stories and then through my main gallery.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Marie, when did you start, and what do you focus on when you post?
I started social media right when I started my business about 10 years ago because it was free advertising. And I really started in Facebook because I didn't probably start Instagram till about 4 years later. And it was just a way for me, to somebody who was just starting a small business, to get out there and let people see my work. And I think, what I have focused on over the years has really evolved, but I really kind of think of it as a platform for brand awareness. To me, social media is the great equalizer. It doesn't matter where you are, what your background is. If you have good content, it can be seen. And we're seeing kind of the industry change in that way. So, what I focus on today is really kind of taking a big sister approach where, yes, we do high-end interiors. Not everybody can hire us, but here's our work. Here's a way to get out there, but then also to teach our audience about, here's a trick of what I like to use. This is the brand of pillow that you see in this room. So even though you might not be able to get this whole room, everybody can take away a little piece and elevate what they have or what they're working on, or inspire a project.
Just a follow-up question to that, do you feel like you use your Instagram account mostly for potential clients who have heard your name and you just want to give them a visual, or is this really a customer acquisition tool where customers find you online and check you out and look what you're up to?
I definitely think it has become, in recent years, a customer acquisition tool, because I hear a lot. I have been following you on Instagram for years, so I definitely think that it plays a huge role in that. But now it also works as a platform for my company, especially for other partnerships and collaborations that we're doing. People are approaching us because we have a platform to be able to share with our audiences.
Mhm. Kara, is that also why social media is important for you? Is that more about this client that randomly finds you and just you want to give them a visual, or is this also using it as a platform? Why is social media important for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would kind of say it's a combination of both, right? You have the people out of state nowadays that can, it's an incredible, way of finding someone and getting to know almost on a personal level before you decide to hire a designer. You come to my account and I think you have a pretty general idea in just a few minutes of reading and seeing our work, me more on a personal level. And then again, kind of like Maria was saying, you get this awareness of all the brands that I might use and collaborate with, and that in and of itself is just kind of this miracle tool in combining two brands. The idea of a collaboration, has just been exponentially made possible through something like Instagram. So it's a beautiful partnership.
Hmm. Kevin, why is this important for you? Same reasons, other reasons?
Similar reasons to what the ladies have said, but also, again, it is about, I have a different approach, a more intimate sort of approach to that. So it is more really, again, about connecting with clients and connecting with people on just more of an intimate way. And that is, it's important that way. And it's important that people get to learn more about my personality and who I am as a designer, not necessarily the output that I put as a designer, right? So for me, it's more about intimacy building in a weird way, if that makes any sense at all.
How does that help your business, or how does that help, your overall purpose of your company?
Well, loyalty breeds loyalty, right? And so people, what is it? Is it Malcolm Gladwell or whatever, the concept of sneezers, right? That one person likes it and then they sneeze and then 10 people catch it. And then, probably not the best metaphor right now in these days, but you understand the concept, right? That it's just, and I have a much a smaller account than the two other ladies on this on the panel here. And so for me, it's just about keeping those core engaged people engaged and bringing more onto the boat.
Well, and I feel like, to follow up with that, I feel like there's this really big push right now about a lot of conversations around the micro influencer, that it's not just about the number you have, it's about the loyalty of your following. So even if you have a smaller number, if they're very loyal to what you have, then you have a strong platform. Right.
That's probably better said than what I was, but that's exactly what I'm doing. I don't need everyone on board. I just need the key people who are on board with what I'm doing on board, right? And that's my whole focus, really, is sort of just maintaining those people that are supporting me and that like my vision. And
I love that too, because I think in turn you get the more loyal client, which I think kind of, this is why we all do this, is it's a business account, it's a platform. And I think, I love that idea, is that you have clients that trust you, know you, and then in turn trust your vision for their spaces.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's interesting because when I'm listening to you three, I feel like there's three major uses for, let's say, Instagram. Like use number one is you meet someone on the street who needs an interior designer and wants to get a visual, and you just need it like a calling card, right? You just need a profile where somebody can understand what your visual aesthetic is. I think the second bucket that I understand is, and Marie, you alluded to that also a little bit, that more than ever, people just find you on Instagram if they look for an interior designer through hashtags or through an account. I mean, we can talk about that in a second. And then the third reason is, and I think that is a little different probably from what most of our listeners and participants today really are looking for, is that you're creating a platform that you can use for collaborations, to use a voice that might also have financial benefit, because if you partner up with a brand, it can give you licensing deals and so on and so forth. So I understand those three uses. Am I summarizing that correctly?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
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 Maybe we go into, Marie, I would love to hear more from you about this. Like, how do you feel like customers find you, or people find you on Instagram? What do they do on Instagram to kind of, ending up on your page?
Well, I think Instagram really fits our design industry well because it's very photography driven. I think different platforms hit other industries well, like Twitter, for example. So I think interior design is a love of so many. You don't need to be in design or have any talent of design to really appreciate the beauty of interior design. So I think a lot of people use the platform for inspiration. So it's a very obvious platform for interior designers to use. And then I take the approach where, to me, social media is my own personal magazine, where we're seeing such a big change in the magazine industry and kind of a shift on where people digest information and where they get their information from. I use it as my own personal magazine where I am constantly wanting to push out content to our followers about inspiration, one interior or another, what we're working on now, what life is like at our office, because we have a medium to large team. So kind of just always pushing forward new content that inspires and hopefully, people enjoy the story of the firm.
Kara, how do people end up on your profile? Like, how do you think is that like from they just go from one profile to the next? Do you think it comes through hashtags? Like, how does that work?
I think that a lot hashtags are a bigger deal than I, used to think they were. I think if I were giving advice, to someone creating their own account, I would say engagement can lead people to you. And if you engage on other accounts, and if you, engage in just their hashtags and posting and stories, that's the beautiful thing about Instagram. It kind of all leads us to each other, and we can share. And like Marie was saying, I love that you can kind of use your own personal account for your own magazine. You portray your work, and I love getting a little bit personal, but more about the work. But also our hashtags can all be, I probably share a lot of hashtags with Marie and so many other designers. So it just creates this beautiful community of finding each other and engaging in each other's work, supporting each other, really uplifting each other as this in Instagram, at least.
So that's super interesting. So you say like gaining customers, but like followers is not only about like posting a picture and like having a great caption. It's also you engaging with others on Instagram, because then others again see your comments and think, oh, who is that? Oh, Kara Fox. Oh, the Fox Group. Okay, so let me click on this, and then they end up on your page and say, oh my God, I love what I see. Is that like how that works?
Absolutely, yeah. Kind of, it's a big beautiful circle of me leaving a comment on Marie's page or Kevin's page, and I think it's fun because that's what's fun about Instagram. You can see other people's comments on your work and other designers' comments on your work, and it just leads back to each other. It's just like a big win-win.
Kevin, you said that you do this a little more intimate. Are you trying to maximize followers, or is your goal more to just represent who you are?
Definitely to represent who I am. I think we can all tell accounts that are being managed by not the principal, or that are being managed by, so it's really important to me that it's a more intimate thing, because I am a very detailed and sort of hands-on designer. So that's the experience that you will get with me. So I like getting into the details with all of my projects and with my clients. And so I want people to know in advance sort of who I am and what I'm doing, but also sort of piggyback on what Kara was saying. Definitely engagement is the main thing. It's a sharing economy, if you will, right? So if I'm sharing other people's work, they're seeing it, people are sharing my work, they're seeing me. it's reciprocal. And so it's really important that you engage, that you answer as many comments as humanly possible. We could do it all day. I mean, but it's really about this connection. That, I guess, would be the sum word for me. It's the connection to the people who are buying what I'm selling, so to speak.
Interesting. So imagine I wanted to start my own interior design business today, and start my own account. Marie, like, I have no Instagram experience. Maybe it's not even Instagram. Like, what would be your 3-4 steps you would advise me to do?
Gosh, well, I love Kara's advice about engaging, because I do think that's one of the number one tricks. People ask all the time, what's the secret? Do you buy followers and things like that? And really, there's no secret except for, post good content, kind of figure out who you are as a brand, or, as Kevin was touching on, like, really his brand is his personality. So find out what your message is and what your brand is, and stay consistent, because then you're going to build a loyal following that loves that brand. And by staying consistent and posting consistently, I think it's just it can be a very quick growth. But that's really what we have found to be successful. I think also make sure to credit people, just like he mentioned, sharing economy. I think it's really important, if you're posting other people's work ever, to make sure they're credited. I think people appreciate that. Good photography is really important. And then also, I tell people, don't be afraid to share the same image, even once a week, because first of all, you want to post at least once a day if you're really trying for growth. And don't be afraid to post the same image, because not everyone saw it the first time. And reuse content. You actually see some of the biggest magazines doing this, where they will repost the same article once a month. And that's okay, because new people will see it, new people will comment, and the engagement and the story is really important.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting, because I'm even starting, and Kara, maybe you can bring some light into that. I'm even starting a little earlier. Like, if I start my business today, do I actually need Instagram? Is it Instagram? Is it Facebook? Is it Pinterest? Like, are we really just talking about Instagram, and then is it a must, and why?
I would tend to say that Instagram has been, in our experience, it's been our most powerful tool for growth and for gaining clients, and kind of that loyal following, and just opportunities that have been open to us through Instagram. And if I were to tell someone today, if you're starting your own interior design business, absolutely, like, capitalize on what Instagram is, and choose, maybe, start with your own work, and build upon that. And like Marie was saying, don't be afraid to show your best work over again when you need to, and then engage with other designers maybe that are similar to your feel, so that you kind of have an overall feel for people that want to come follow your page. Photography, I can't stress enough, like, beautiful pictures, and the work itself can be so enhanced by photography, which sounds a little bit shallow, but Instagram is one platform that photography goes a long way. And so if I were to say invest in anything starting out, you want to give your work the best chance through really good photography.
Great. And I'm going to ask more questions about photography and where to get it from, and so on and so forth. Kevin, but before, I want to ask you too, like, if I started my interior design business today, like, what would you suggest I do with regards to social media?
As far as Instagram, or are there other options?
I don't know. Maybe
I personally think it's Instagram, although there was a resurgence in Pinterest during the pandemic. So there is some, there's some space there. I would say, basically, again, the ladies kind of said everything. The engagement is really it. If you want to build your community, you have to engage with them, and people need to know that you're there, and they have to like what you're saying. So everyone starts somewhere. We all had one follower at one point, right? So it's just slowly building that house, or quickly building that house, however it works, but you have to engage, and you have to be a good, citizen. Absolutely, you have to credit if you're not showing anyone else's work. That should be without question. Still drives me crazy to this day when you see people not crediting other people's work, right? So don't try to pass anyone else's work off as your own. But when you're starting, you don't have a whole lot of assets. So you have to work with what you've got. And so you can move outside of design and show other things that interest you. If you're out shopping, or you find things that fit within your brand or the image that you're trying to cultivate, you can do that all to tell a story. Because this whole thing is about storytelling, right? About who we are, about what we provide, about the life that we could give you. So your storytelling doesn't have to always be in a magazine-worthy image. It can be a collection of other things that sort of help to tell that story.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Marie, the interesting thing is, a lot of people feel overwhelmed by Instagram because they say, okay, so I'm already overwhelmed by finding the right picture, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But then also I need to find hashtags. I also need to comment. I also need to engage. Then, this is like emotionally at least a full-time job. Do you think, like if I don't want to do that, do you think I should just skip Instagram at all? Or do you think having a page on Instagram with like pictures of your work is better than nothing, or replaces actually in the future, maybe even your website, because people just check you out on Instagram?
Yeah, I feel like my opinion about that has changed over the years, where before I used to think if you're not engaging, if you're not posting on a regular basis, then don't do it. But now my opinion has changed that you should have an Instagram account. And even if you don't post, just put 9 of your favorite images up, because today people use Instagram like Google. And if I'm going to look somebody up, half the time I do it on Instagram. Use it like a website. And I would put up 9 of your favorite images. And honestly, some of the coolest people on Instagram never post because they're such strong brands already. They don't need to.
Interesting. Kara, do you see that the same way?
Yeah, I definitely think that it's really important to just have, I think even with the younger generations, and even I think every generation's kind of embracing it a little bit. You just kind of, why not, I guess, in my opinion. It is overwhelming, and I can see how it's emotionally investing. But again, make it simple, make it doable for you. Just, even if it's start out with 9 pictures, so at least you have your profile covered. Even if you just have one sentence, and maybe make it in your mind just this doable thing where, okay, I can start posting, once a month, and engage once a month. And I think the more you do it, it becomes a little more natural, a little more doable, easy. It's it's a free way to advertise. So I think it's like, I guess I would ask why not, right? And if it is its emotional toll, it is something you could hire out and just at least get your work out there, have someone else post it for you, and you kind of take a mental step away from it. Because sometimes it does get a little, mentally challenging and overwhelming to deal with it on a daily basis, for sure. But yeah, why not?
Kevin, do you feel also the same way? Would you also say it's absolutely impairment?
Yes, but you're in charge of that, right? So you can determine what's comfortable for you and what you feel comfortable putting out there. Not everyone needs to dive in to have, 6-figure growth. Some people just want to engage, right? So don't let it be daunting, and don't follow someone else's following count. Do what's right for you, and do, what's comfortable, instead of doing nothing, right? If you just post like the 9 images, that's brilliant, Marie. I'd never thought of that before. That's a great idea. And it's a really solid tip, because it gives you a presence. And I do think Instagram comes before the website. In search, people are going to, if they're hearing about me, they're going to look at Instagram. And then from Instagram, if they like what they see, then they'll dive into the website, where I think it used to be the other way around. So I think it's imperative that you have a presence there. And I think that you should work at it, but at a growth that's comfortable for you. And then that may change over time, but start and do something. right? That
Super helpful. Thank you. And I mean, everyone that is listening now live or on YouTube later, first homework is open an Instagram page and upload, your five, 6, 7, 8, 9 favorite pictures. Because I also just learned, Instagram is the new interior design Google, basically.
it really is. I mean,
I would love to ask the three of you, and maybe we start this time with you also, how you feel like Instagram is benefiting your business differently from traditional marketing. And maybe we also talk about publications, what's more important, Instagram or publications, like how does this all compare in this offline world and traditional marketing?
was that, I'm sorry,
this for
Yeah, sorry, Kevin. Yeah, to you.
directed at me. Okay, I'm sorry. So is it, I'm sorry, I lost the question.
No worries, no worries. No, I'm wondering, I would love to, understand how social media and Instagram has benefited your business differently from traditional marketing and also traditional PR.
Again, it's different because it's more my voice, right? A publication, it's going to be my voice filtered through a writer and then filtered through an editor. So this is one way that they can get a more raw view of who you are and hear your voice. So I think that all of it comes together. You need a little bit of everything because the press and the magazine mentions add validity to your brand, and the social media and Instagram adds the voice to your brand, and other areas maybe add the soul or whatever, right? So it's this combination of those things that really make it powerful. So I think it's important, and each piece has its own merit and its own sort of area of support in your career, really, or in your business.
I'm actually going to write that down, that Instagram is kind of your voice, and then the press or the media adds the validity, because kind of everyone can be an Instagram star, if they put a lot of effort behind it. Right. But then, you get, you get the validity from the press. Marie, is that also how you see it? I saw you nodding.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like a good marketing plan has layering, and in the design world, I think there are plenty of opportunities that basically they feed into one another. Yeah. Just like Kevin touched on, we strive really hard to get editorial mentions and our work as an editorial feature in several magazines. And then we share it on our Instagram platforms, and then they share it, and then we're tagging each other. So they multiply the effort when you have kind of a broad marketing plan, between not just editorial and social media, but events. And, if you do some sort of direct mail or newsletter and blog, I mean, sky's the limit of what you put in the soup. But I think if you really do it correctly, they should feed one another and multiply the effort.
Kara, so imagine, so I opened my own Instagram feed and I've done my homework, I've uploaded those 9 pictures, and now I feel I want to do a little more, and I want to get to the next level of gaining followers, and just get some traction there. Share with us some secrets on how one gets followers. You apparently do this very well.
Well, it's been an interesting learning road the last few years. And I guess my biggest advice on that is just be organic, be authentic, don't be gimmicky. I think the followers that really stick with you and that admire your work, they recognize, authenticity on Instagram. And I think be authentic, not only in your, just, it's tricky because in a way it is a self-promotion, and sometimes that might feel funny as a business owner putting, trying to promote yourself on this little platform, but people appreciate it when it's done organically, when it's done authentically. Be yourself, and it will grow. It will grow organically. That's the best kind of way I can describe it. Little tips, when you're first starting out, it sometimes helps if you can collaborate with maybe a bigger account. And it's crazy to see what can happen with being reposted by just, a big account, and they can come see what you're about. You can gain a lot of followers that way. You can, even just, approaching different brands that maybe you feel like are a good collaboration with you, and you reach out to them to collaborate. Hey, let's promote each other. It's a promotion of yourself in turn for your business success, but it's also, let's promote everyone at, like that big win-win I was talking about. And I think that's the beauty of this whole entire Instagram motto, yeah.
Kevin, do you have a couple of little tricks that I can write down and everyone else around us how to gain followers?
Well, I think hashtags, as someone mentioned before, are important. And you can borrow them from other accounts. For instance, you go to a post of Marie's and you like what it is and you like their follower count. You can look, usually the first comment is going to be all of those hashtags. Start clicking on them and see which ones apply to you and start using them. They can be really, really effective. And you don't need, just see what's working for other people and see if it works for you. It's a trial and error. So I would not discount geotagging, and I would not discount the hashtags at all, because that can really be an effective way to help get engagement and to target your message to the people that you want it to reach. Yeah.
Thank you. So let us get into the pictures, and we get more questions also. So I'm going to get into, thank you everyone for your questions. I'm going to get there very soon. I just wanted to also quickly speak with you about pictures, because it's so easy to say, right? Like, so again, I'm starting my business, or I've been in the business for a long time, but I didn't photograph, or my clients don't want me to photograph, or I might not even love what I did there because my clients put their old furniture into the dining room where I just put up the beautiful wall covering. I mean, we know all of these stories, obviously. Marie, where do I get all the pictures from? Like even those 9, what would you suggest?
And I would say start out with details. If you don't like the furniture they put in, then do a great detail of the window with the wall covering and the drape, and then teach your following about that. I think it's important to learn what a good photo, what creates a good photo and what creates a good lighting. And I think that's really important. But one thing I think that we haven't touched on yet is videos. Like, videos are, I would maybe even a better way to grow your feed, grow your following right now, because not that many people do it, and you're fighting for a lot of attention when it comes to photos. But the videos get priority in the feed if you notice when you're just kind of in the search mode. And if you kind of study the way even you use the app, how that changes over time. A lot of people just watch stories and never even go to the feed. So I think that actually, to me, takes a little bit of pressure off. Like, post your 9 beautiful images and then utilize the story function, which is only a 24-hour thing. So you don't have to worry about it being this perfect picture. And they get to know your personality. It's a way that doesn't need to be perfect, but very authentic. In a way you can just reach people really quickly without it having to be completely polished all the time.
Yeah.
That's
a really good point, because stories are really important, and video is becoming even more so important. So it's actually a really good point that I'm surprised anyone pick up on yet. Sorry, didn't interrupt.
No, I'm still wondering where I get the material from. Like, Kara, would you start in your home, or would you, where would you start? Like, because you can or would you actually repost other people's picture, or would you rather like take a picture of your own home? Like, how do you see that, Kara?
Yeah, so I think that's one way that I've actually used in marketing, is that I've made it a little personal, in that our account does show a lot of our own home, a lot of our work. So with clients, getting, I at this point just kind of straight out with a client, I will want to use your images. almost from the first meeting. It's just because I have learned the power of using images and photos and how far it can take you. So I would probably recommend that that's something you get permission for, right away with clients. With the video, a fun tip is that videos can go viral so much more so than even a picture. And so, and like Marie was saying, just on the search pages, videos capture someone's attention just within, seconds, and you decide within about 3 seconds if you want to keep watching that video. And so if you can make a real, and what's crazy I've learned is that the more like homemade, authentic videos, kind of a space or of an install of in progress design, it doesn't have to be that polished, finished product. People love feeling like they're part of the process, and a video is a perfect way to just capture that, buzz around a room within 30 seconds. And it's like the amount of content and info going into the viewer's head it's almost like overload. But that's what viewers want these days. They just want like an overload. I want to see an entire thing show me it in 5 seconds, or I'm going to swipe to the next thing that captures my attention. So capture that audience within the first 3 seconds of your videos, and it has a better chance to go viral, and thus get more followers, get more engagement on it.
Thank you. No, super interesting, super interesting. But I think again, for the ones that don't choose to do a lot of engagement, I think they still have to upload their 9 pictures. So that, because the stories only live for 24 hours and you don't see them, whereas the feed is basically your calling card, right? So
exactly.
I would say start in your own home. For the first 9, most designers' careers were built on their own home. So start in your own home, get those really good, tight 9 shots on there so that when someone comes to their set, and then you can play with it, and then you can incorporate other people's work. I personally don't think your first 9 pictures should have someone else's work in it. Personally, afterward, when you get going, it's fine, but your first 9 should not represent someone else. But start in your own home, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Marie, you have mentioned you have to learn how to take a good picture. So I would love to hear from you. Tell us 3 do's and 3 don'ts when it comes to like a good picture or a bad picture, like if we speak about the don'ts.
Gosh, well, I think a lot of it depends on your following, but as an interior designer, my followers tend to really love a wide angle shot that really shows the story of the room. I think I personally take photos with lights off and let natural light be the main source of light. So really kind of harnessing how to capture natural light well, where your whites are very white, is important. Getting a good photo app is great. And, and today it doesn't even have to be a fancy camera. I mean, some of our most popular are taken with an iPhone. So
you talked about a photo app. What photo app would you recommend?
I use Snapseed personally because I like how you can tune the image to be brighter and crop it easier. I also just use the Instagram filter quite often.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Kara, do you have a tip that Marie hasn't mentioned yet, like a do or a don't on a good picture?
Yeah, for me personally, I've found that my followers tend to engage in a vertically aligned picture, so that I think it actually portrays itself bigger in the Instagram scroll. And I have found that those just I think they pop more when people are scrolling through. They're easier to see. And so it's funny that a little thing like the picture alignment can affect engagement of a picture, but it absolutely does. And another trick that I've actually found works really well for us is the swipe through. So you post, I want to portray this room, but I have so many, I'm going to give a big shot of it first, but I also want to go through some detail shots. And the cool thing about that is that it shows up more than once on someone's feed. So if they're going through, they see your first image, and if they were in a hurry, it goes by. But when they click back onto the Instagram app, the second time it will show them your second image in your swipe through. So it's a good way to keep showing up on a feed of someone that was maybe in a hurry the first time they saw your post. So you can show up as many as 10 times is what, so a lot of times I'll just capitalize on, I'm going to show 10 photos of this one new reveal, and get it all out there. And, and then follow that up with stories, do a post about a new reveal, and then what you want to do. And I think the story is a beautiful way to capture, the people that are quickly floating through stories. You don't want to tell them your entire post, but you have to give them a little peek, like click onto my new post and you'll be able to see, all the details we used of this fabric with this trim, and without giving it away in the story, because ultimately you want the engagement on your post, you don't want a million DMs. You want them to come to your post, engage there, and get that going in the Instagram algorithm eventually.
Wow, this was dynamite. Thank you. Thank you. So helpful. Kevin, do you have a do and don't on a picture before we jump into the Q&A session?
I would say the sooner you learn what looks good on a photo is not necessarily what looks good in the room, the better off you will be. You need to tweak, you need to move. Sometimes the chair needs to be 3 inches off the table, but on the photo, it looks like it's 3 feet away. So you need to look at the room through the lens of the camera 100%, because it took me a long time to be able to divorce myself from my creation to what actually looks good on camera. And styling is very important. Make the house look lived in. It's romance, right? You're trying to create this romantic sort of vision. So make the room look like someone actually lives there.
Yeah, you're trying to sell a lifestyle kind of.
Exactly.
Quick question, Marie. When you take an iPhone picture, and it looks like, oh, you saw something beautiful, you took one picture. How many pictures do you take until you get the right angle, like 20, or is it always the first one?
No, it's never the first one. I mean,
Never.
several to the right one. So
I just think it's important for everyone out there, because you take one picture and you say, oh, this looks terrible. It's a process, and then you turn the light off, and then you put flowers in, and then it looks much better, and then you feel like, oh, the drapery is missing. Maybe I close the window, like a little. So I think it's like right? I mean, that's at least
exactly
how I do it.
each one informs what was wrong. You look at it and you're like, oh, that's an awful photo, but why was it an awful photo? Oh, it's because the lights are on, or it's because I need to turn a little so the sunlight's coming in, so each one of those failures informs the next success.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, and we do all of our professional photography, what they call tethered, which is connected to a computer. So we can see every shot live on the computer and make sure there's no tangents of, the cup is in front of the sofa. Sometimes it takes 30 minutes just to get one shot.
Yeah. Be patient. We do the same thing. Yeah, I would say just be patient with yourself. The perfect shot is, like Kevin was saying, it is like you learn from every bad one to create and to get to that perfect one. And it is not an easy process. And that's the funny thing about Instagram, is that it makes it look like this is all so easy. Like I just shot that and it looked like that. And again, it probably took 2 hours to get to that perfect shot on the tethering on the computer, moving that little accessory just so be patient, with yourself for sure.
That takes a lot of anxiety and pressure out of my shoulders, at least. So let's get into the Q&A. So we have around 15 questions. Maybe we get through them in the next 15 minutes. What I would do is I just read a question, and then whoever wants to go first, just give an answer, and then we move to the next one. How is it important to get personal on the page?
Yes, for me it is, but that's all about what I'm about. I'm not so personal as like what I ate for breakfast, but I am trying to show you an insight as to who I am. So yes, I think you should show the world as much as you're comfortable showing of yourself, for sure.
Yeah, I would follow up with the exact same thing. I would say yes. The personal accounts, you do find that you get a little bit more of a loyal following, and that they get this sneak peek into kind of your life, your style, your daily, tasks, and being a designer. It gives such a more intimate connection between you and the follower. So absolutely, being personal is definitely important.
And personal, you mean, just for me to understand, it means like you take a picture of you going to the design center and seeing a beautiful I don't know, wall covering? Obviously, I always have to bring wall covering or fabric examples here. But like, or does it mean like taking a picture of your pet, or is it what you eat for breakfast? Where just to get the line clear.
Yeah, I would say, throw out maybe in your post, throw out some of your personal opinions, or yeah, like what you did that day. Or and I do think personally people like to see a face behind an account. So if you're comfortable, show your face once in a while and show who you are and what you're about. And again, like Kevin said, you're trying to sell. You ultimately want clients, you ultimately want business. You are selling a lifestyle, and by them coming to your page, that they will come to you for that type of design and lifestyle. So it requires that personal opinion and touch, and in there.
Great. Next question from Linda. Do you comment back to all the people who comment on your site? And do likes mean anything?
I mean, we definitely try and comment back. I run my account with 2 other people, and since I'm in meetings all day, my team helps respond to comments because we do find it is really important.
Okay, cool.
I agree. Within reason, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next one from an anonymous attendee. If you already have a personal account on Instagram, it should be better to create a new account for your work in interior design, or should be better to use the same personal account?
So I kind of learned this from experience, and I actually learned that I was more passionate about the account when it was tied to my personal. So I combined the two, and I felt like it was less to focus on, and it made me more passionate about the one account.
Great. So another question from Christine. How do you feel about answering questions regarding resources as an interior designer?
As long as you're respectful about it and understand that this is how we make a living, I have no problem with it. Because the reality is, if someone who knows a paint color thinks that they can recreate any of the rooms that any 3 of us have done, that's silly, right? Like, so as long as the person's respectful about it, I don't personally have an issue with it.
Cool. Awesome. Next question. This is fireworks here. So Laura Jean asks, please explain hashtags. I don't know how they are created and why and how they work. I also don't know whether they should be placed in the caption or as an additional post or like a comment. Who can give us, of the 3 of you, the perfect definition and explanation of hashtags?
I would say a hashtag is a conversation. So for example, if I'm looking for inspiration on how to do a master bathroom, you would type in the hashtag master bathroom. And a trick that you can do if you're not familiar with Instagram is that when you are, I like to put in my hashtags as a comment to keep the tagline clean. But when you put in a hashtag, you push the hashtag sign, and then it'll start to prompt. So if you say master bathroom, it'll start to prompt. It'll tell you that master bathroom has gotten 3 million views, where master bathroom decor has only gotten 200 views. So you can choose your hashtags based on the popularity of the conversation.
So, and you say basically that people search for that term and then see your picture, and probably also the logarithm behind decides, how much your picture comes up in the search site and so on. So that is probably behind that too, right?
That's right. And also how long ago it was posted plays a role too. Like the freshest content comes up first.
And does it make a difference whether you put the hashtag into the caption or into a comment below?
I don't think so.
No,
either
it's
one
just
works.
aesthetics. It's aesthetics and personal preference, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And you can even go back to old, I'm sorry.
No, I even sometimes, we have hashtag Shoestergram, so I even sometimes comment with the hashtag on a picture, and I think it picks it up.
Yeah.
So that's also how you can, expand.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I just came out with a book, The Beauty of Home, and I was able to go back to all my old images and hashtag The Beauty of Home so that it had a stronger presence. So you can go back to old images.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Now
also
that-
very good tip. I'm going to write that down too.
Yeah, for sure.
Kara, is there a better time to post during the day?
Yeah, so I've looked into this. What they, the most engagement and interaction you'll find is about 7:30 p.m. I don't know why. It's more during the weekdays, less on weekends. If you can get a post out first thing, between 9 to 11 a.m., I think it has all day, so it also does well. It's in the 3 to 4 to 2 p.m.s that I found personally don't have a lot of engagement. And again, I don't know, it's such a funny algorithm to try and figure out, but I would say just as a tip starting out, yeah, try to do, I think my best post ever was probably at like a 7 p.m. on a Thursday. And then the other ones I would say, yeah, that 9 a.m. hour during weekdays.
Well, it's interesting because you think about yourself. Now you wake up and you check out Instagram, so that's probably between 7 and 9.
Yeah.
And when you come from work, you're like, oh, this was a day, and you like open it, right? So that's probably the logic behind somehow.
And you can toss in lunch hour too in there because people at lunch.
That's true. They do. Yeah.
And I think that's a great tip because I think people need to know that there is if you have a business account, you can check your own analytics and it'll tell you when your followers are available.
Yeah.
Great tip too. I'm going to write that down too. No, super helpful. Austin asked, will exposing a project on Instagram kill the opportunity to have it published in a shelter magazine?
I can answer that right now because I was just up against that. I have some upcoming press coming. And so basically it used to be the rule. Magazines are understanding that they no longer can control content as much because designers aren't willing to wait a year and a half for this content to be seen. So what is happening now is that I need to scrub my social media and my website of those images 30 days in advance of these publications, and then I can repost them again after publication. But they did not put an embargo on them. And these are 3 separate magazines, and all 3 of them have come back with the same thing.
And I've kind of found the same. They're a lot more willing now to let you engage your followers during your install or during the actual project, right after you installed, show it a little bit, but then they do prefer, when they're going to come out with the magazine, they want to be the ones that hold those images. They don't want it fresh on your account. But once it's once it's out there, you can post about it again. Is the general, similar rule.
Last question, and it's actually the last question we just got, also from an anonymous attendee. Do you ever get rude, judgmental comments? How do you deal with that?
I would say that's been part of this roller coaster, I think, and why, sometimes people are afraid of Instagram is that it's that anonymous poster, that they can post anything, hide behind a computer screen. I would say don't take it personal. It's more of a reflection on what that person may be going through. It's more of a reflection of it's not you. Don't take it personal. That even if it feels personal, you've got to place yourself back and forget it as easy as you can.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kara.
Delete and block. Easy.
Delete and block. That's a good rule.
Right.
Don't engage. Don't take it personal. Don't engage.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. This was amazing. I will watch this again and take some more notes. Everyone, who have joined later, you can watch this on YouTube. Well, Marie, Kevin, Kara, it was a pleasure having you. It was super insightful, and thank you for being so open about everything. I'm sure we're gonna all sit here and learn and become much better Instagrammer over the next weeks. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.